Aria Collins tightened her grip on the clipboard as the elevator doors slid open to the private rooftop of the Aurelio Tower. The moment she stepped out, she froze. A man was standing at the edge of the helipad, no railing, nothing but open air and a 60-story drop below him. He wasn't suicidal. He wasn't panicking. He was just staring over the city like he owned every building in it. Kang Dae-Hyun. Aria had planned luxury weddings for difficult people before: Hollywood actors, senators' children, tech billionaires with zero patience. But none of them carried the strange gravity this man did. Even from behind, she felt the quiet danger radiating off him, the kind that made her instincts whisper, "Don't get too close." But she had a job to do. The floral team needs confirmation on whether you prefer white orchids or the traditional. "Orchids," he said instantly, without turning. "Not lilies. My mother will push for lilies, but this wedding is not for her." His voice was strange, icy, unbothered, and yet threaded with something that sounded almost tired. Aria swallowed hard. "Noted," she said, trying to sound calm. "And the reception layout." He finally turned. The moment their eyes met, everything inside her lurched. It was like being punched with recognition she couldn't place. She'd seen many faces in this city, but nothing like his: sharp, unreadable, commanding. His suit was matte black, tailored like thread had been measured along bone, and his expression looked carved from stone. For a moment, he just studied her. No smile, no warmth, no hello. Just studied her. "You look like you're about to run," he said. Aria forced her feet to stay planted. "I don't run from clients." A ghost of a smirk tugged at his mouth. "You should. I'm not an easy one." She didn't doubt that. The silence stretched, heavy enough that her heart started beating too loudly. She'd been in worse situations. The humiliation of being left at the altar 6 months ago still felt like a bruise under her ribs. But something about this man, this wedding, this rooftop, put her on edge. "Your assistant mentioned your bride hasn't arrived in the country yet," she said carefully. Dae-Hyun's jaw tightened. "She arrives in 3 weeks. And your wedding is scheduled for 1 month after that." Aria hesitated. "That's not a lot of time to marry someone you've never met." He didn't blink. "Time is irrelevant. It's an arrangement, not a romance." Her throat tightened unexpectedly. The word romance tasted sour lately. She tried to shift the conversation. "I'll need to meet her as soon as she arrives. Bridal fittings, photography, cultural consultations." "You won't meet her." Aria blinked. "I'm the wedding planner. I'll relay everything to her family. You only deal with me." That was wrong. Red flag wrong. No bride in the world let someone else plan her wedding without meeting the planner. "Mr. Kang, with all respect, that's not standard." "I'm not standard." His eyes met hers again, cold, sharp, but with something flickering behind the surface. Something that felt like a secret. "This wedding happens my way." A ripple of unease slid down her spine. But she kept her composure, years of professional training wrapped around heartbreak that never really healed. "Then we'll adjust to your preferences," she said, lifting her chin. Something like challenge passed through his eyes, but he nodded. "Good." He walked past her, close enough that she caught the faint scent of cedar and something darker, gunmetal or danger, she couldn't tell. He moved without sound, like a shadow that had taught itself how to breathe. As he stepped into the elevator, he spoke without looking at her. "Tomorrow, noon. I'll send a car, don't be late." Then the doors closed. Aria let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. She had no idea then, no way to even imagine, that this wasn't going to be another high-profile wedding. It was going to be the thing that ripped open every wound she'd buried. The next day, the car wasn't a car at all. It was an armored SUV with tinted windows and a driver who didn't speak. Great, just great. Aria slid into the backseat, smoothing her blazer. She'd chosen something sleek and professional, navy, fitted, safe. After having her life explode in front of 300 wedding guests 6 months ago, she'd learned the importance of appearing unshakable. The driver pulled into traffic without warning, making her brace herself. 10 minutes passed in total silence before her phone buzzed. Tasha, you alive? Does the client look like a murderer or like someone who hires murderers? Aria sighed. Aria, he looks like someone who doesn't need to hire anyone. Tasha, run. Aria smiled despite her nerves. But as the SUV turned into an industrial district, the smile disappeared. This can't be right, she murmured. The vehicle slowed in front of a warehouse-like building that looked nothing like a wedding venue. Inside, however, she was stunned. The entire interior had been renovated into an ultra-modern event space. Dark glass, polished concrete, massive steel beams arching overhead. It was beautiful. And cold. And expensive. Dae-Hyun stood near the center of the room, surrounded by men who looked like security. Not the celebrity kind. The I will break your bones before you breathe wrong kind. He dismissed them with a gesture when he saw her. You're late. The driver didn't tell me where we were going, she shot back. He tilted his head, as if impressed she spoke to him like a normal human being. This is the reception hall, he said, walking ahead. Ceremony will be elsewhere. Aria followed, taking notes. How many guests? 200. Mixed cultures. Yes. Any specific rituals or family requirements? His jaw tensed. Traditional Korean ceremony, my mother insists. And you. A beat of silence. I prefer efficiency. Aria almost snorted. Well, weddings aren't supposed to feel efficient. They're supposed to feel like love, he said flatly. Her pulse stumbled. He'd seen her wedding photos online. Everyone had. The internet had ripped her heartbreak apart like wolves on meat. Just 2 hours before her ceremony, her fiancé Marcus had texted her 4 words that destroyed everything. I can't do this. The humiliation still burned. She forced her face into neutrality. I meant joy, celebration. He studied her, not in a flirty way, in an unsettling, dissecting way. Your idea of celebration seems theoretical. Her breath caught. Do you always insult the people you hire? Yes. She stared. He didn't smile. Eventually, she exhaled. Fine, show me the ceremony location. He guided her down a corridor toward a set of double doors. The moment he opened them, sunlight streamed across polished white stone floors. It was stunning. A glass pavilion surrounded by a shallow, reflecting pool. The city skyline shimmered in the distance. Aria softened despite herself. It's perfect. Dae-Hyun didn't look at the venue. He looked at her reaction. And that was when she saw it. For a second, half a second, something raw flickered in his eyes. Something like recognition, shock, unease. Like he'd seen her before. Like he remembered something she didn't. But the moment vanished, hardening back into silence. Aria tucked a loose curl behind her ear. So, when do you want the bride to do a walkthrough? She won't come here, he said. Why not? She doesn't need to. That's not normal. This is not a normal wedding. The tension thickened. Mr. Kang. Dae-Hyun. She blinked. What? Use my name. Her pulse stuttered. All right, Dae-Hyun, then answer the question, why won't she come here? He turned away, voice cooling into steel. Because this wedding is about loyalty, not choice. Aria's heart tightened. He said it like someone who knew exactly what it felt like to have no choices. As he walked further into the sunlit space, she followed, unaware of the truth waiting just ahead. A truth that would break everything open. A truth that would turn this job into a storm no one could escape. But for now, all she knew was this. Something was wrong. Terribly, unmistakably wrong. And she was already in too deep. Aria knew something was off the moment she stepped farther into the pavilion. Her heels clicked softly across the white stone, echoing in the quiet. Dae-Hyun walked ahead with the same slow, silent confidence as yesterday, hands clasped behind his back, shoulders squared like a man always expecting a bullet. She hated how he moved. Not because it scared her, though it did, but because it reminded her of someone she once pulled from a wrecked car 3 years ago. Someone she never saw again. Someone whose face she couldn't remember clearly because it had been dark, raining, and she'd been too shaken to absorb details. But sometimes at night, she remembered the way his eyes looked at her. Like she was the only safe thing in the world. She shook the memory off. No use thinking about old ghosts. As they walked, she noticed faint scratches on the floor near the door. Deep, harsh, metal-on-stone scratches. "Those marks," she said softly, pointing. "From furniture." Dae-Hyun's gaze followed her finger. His expression hardened. "No," he said, "from intimidation." She blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" But he was already walking again, dismissing the topic like it was irrelevant. A chill slid up her arms. This wasn't normal. This wasn't corporate clients fighting over centerpieces or bridesmaids throwing tantrums about dress colors. This was something else entirely. She hurried to keep up. "I need clarification on the ceremony flow. Will the bride's family be present before the processional?" "Yes." "And your family?" "Also present. And the two families get along." Silence. Dae-Hyun. "They tolerate each other." She stopped walking. This wedding sounds like a business negotiation disguised as a ceremony. He turned slowly, like a predator deciding whether to acknowledge prey. That's exactly what it is. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Aria's voice lowered. "Are you sure you want this?" His answer came without hesitation, but his eyes betrayed a crack of something unspoken. "It doesn't matter what I want." She felt that sentence like a bruise under her ribs. It echoed too closely to her own past. He walked past her and headed toward the exit. "Follow me," he said. Aria exhaled shakily and followed. The next area was a long hallway with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the reflecting pool. Sunlight scattered through the space, dancing across the water. Aria paused to take notes. "We'll need to secure the walkway if the bride wears traditional hanbok. The fabric can." A sudden noise cracked through the air. Metal, violent, sharp. Aria flinched instinctively. Dae-Hyun moved before she could process what she heard, grabbing her arm, pulling her sharply to the side, placing himself between her and the corridor. His hand wrapped around her wrist with shocking strength. "What was that?" she whispered. His jaw tightened. "Stay behind me." Her pulse rocketed. "Should I call security?" "You're looking at security," he said, eyes scanning every corner. Another crashing noise thundered through the building. This time, it sounded like something, or someone, had slammed into a wall. Aria's breathing quickened. "Dae-Hyun, what's happening?" "Trouble," he said quietly. "From who?" He didn't answer. Instead, he walked forward, slow and controlled, like he'd done this 1,000 times. Aria followed in a shaky half-step, her body trembling even though she tried to hide it. They reached a room at the end of the hall. Inside, two men stood facing each other. One was tall and built like reinforced steel. The other had blood on his lip and anger burning in his eyes. They both turned the moment Dae-Hyun entered. The bloody-lipped man dropped to one knee instantly. "Boss." Aria gasped. Dae-Hyun didn't look surprised. He didn't even look alarmed. He stepped into the room like he owned the oxygen inside it. "What happened?" he asked. The kneeling man kept his eyes low. "Han's syndicate sent 2 runners. They were scouting the property. We intercepted them." "Did they see anything?" "No, boss." "What about retaliation?" "They'll assume we knew they were coming." Dae-Hyun exhaled slowly, eyes narrowing. "Of course they will." Aria stared at him. "Boss." "Intercepted." "Syndicate." "Retaliation." Every word in that room pulled the ground further out from under her. Her voice trembled. "Dae-Hyun, what is this? Who are these people?" For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then he turned to her. His expression shifted. Something cold, guarded, something she wasn't sure she wanted to understand. This doesn't concern you. Yes, it does, she snapped. I'm planning your wedding. I need to know what danger I'm walking into. You're not in danger. How do you know that? His voice dropped low. Because if you were, there wouldn't be anyone left alive in this building but us. Her breath hitched. She suddenly understood something she had refused to even consider. Kang Dae-Hyun wasn't an eccentric billionaire. He wasn't just a difficult client. He was something else. Something dangerous. She stumbled backward slightly. This is criminal activity. He didn't flinch. That's one way to describe it. What's the other way? A legacy. Her heartbeat roared in her ears. I shouldn't be here, she whispered. No, he agreed softly, strangely. You shouldn't. She swallowed hard. Then why am I here? His expression cracked, just for a moment. A flicker, a fragment of vulnerability beneath the armor. Because I chose you. Her heart stopped. He continued, voice lower. Every planner in the state wanted this job. I chose you. Why? Because I trust you. The words hit her like a physical blow. Trust wasn't a gift she heard often. Certainly not from a man built entirely of secrets. But before she could respond, the kneeling man spoke again. Boss, there's something else. Dae-Hyun didn't look away from her. What? We found this on one of the runners. He stood and extended a folded piece of paper. Dae-Hyun opened it silently. Aria couldn't see the contents, but she saw what happened to him. His eyes sharpened, his hand flexed, his chest stilled. What does it say? She whispered. He didn't answer. He folded the paper and slipped it inside his jacket. Get everyone on alert, he ordered the men. We prepare for retaliation, full watch rotation. No one enters or leaves without clearance. Yes, boss. The men rushed out. Aria was alone with him again. She hugged her clipboard to her chest like a shield. Tell me what's going on. He looked down at her. Not now. Then when? When it's safer. She clenched her jaw. You can't ask me to plan a wedding like nothing's happening. I can, he said calmly, because you're already in this, Aria. Her breath trembled. I don't want to be. He stepped closer, every movement quiet and deliberate. You're not in danger, he said softly. I'm not your enemy. You're not my friend either. He tilted his head. Aren't I? His proximity sent heat rushing through her, followed by anger at herself for feeling anything at all. I came here to plan a wedding, she said tightly, not to get dragged into whatever this is. He didn't move back. And yet, he murmured, you're still here. A shiver ran down her spine. Only because you're blocking the exit. A ghost of a smirk touched his lips as he stepped aside. Then go, he said. She hesitated. Not because he was right there. Not because her legs trembled. But because leaving felt impossible. She finally walked toward the door, but stopped halfway. Will your bride be safe? She asked quietly. His expression hardened like glass fracturing. That, he said, is not your concern. But it is, she said, voice steady despite her fear. Because if something happens, it happens at an event I planned. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Aria braced herself, expecting anger. But instead he whispered, You care. She faltered, It's my job. No, he stepped closer, It's who you are. Her chest tightened painfully. She hated him for seeing her so easily. And she hated herself for caring even one breath about a wedding she should not have taken. But she stood her ground. Tell me one thing, she said. Is this wedding really happening, or is it just a facade? His gaze held hers, unblinking, impossible to read. Then he said the one thing that made her stomach drop. It's not a facade, it's a trap. Aria's blood turned cold. For who? For everyone. She didn't know it yet, but she was part of that everyone. Dae-Hyun did. and it terrified him more than any rival syndicate ever could. Aria didn't remember walking out of the warehouse. She didn't remember getting into the SUV or the silent ride back to her apartment. All she remembered was the sound of his voice repeating in her head. It's not a facade, it's a trap. For hours she sat on her sofa staring at the wall, replaying everything. His men, the blood, the threats, the look in his eyes when he read that mysterious note. She should quit. She should run. She should call the authorities. But instead, she found herself replaying the moment he pulled her behind him when the noise echoed in the hall. The way his hand wrapped around her wrist, firm but protective. The way he positioned himself between her and danger without hesitating. And the worst part, some part of her had felt safe. She hated that. She hated the confusion, the pull, the magnetic danger of him. Her phone buzzed. Tasha, dinner tonight. You look like you need carbs and wine. Aria typed back, can't, big project. Tasha, the weirdo groom. Aria exhaled, yes. Tasha, you want me to pretend scream into the phone so you can claim an emergency and escape. A small laugh escaped her, not yet. Tasha, okay, but if you die, I'm stealing your skincare. Aria's smile faded quickly as she leaned back against the cushions. She wasn't going to die. Dae-Hyun said she wasn't in danger. But was that a promise? Or a threat? Before she could think about it more, someone knocked on her apartment door. Her heart jumped. It was past 10. Nobody visited this late. She approached slowly, peeking through the peephole. 2 men in suits stood outside. Her blood ran cold. She recognized them. Dae-Hyun's men. She opened the door only an inch. What are you doing here? One of them, taller, older, with a scar near his jaw, bowed slightly. Miss Collins, the boss requests your presence. Her stomach dropped. Now. Yes. I'm not going anywhere in the middle of the night. Miss Collins, the man said, tone apologetic but firm. It is important. Aria's pulse hammered so loudly she felt it in her teeth. She could slam the door. Call the cops. Tell them to get lost. But something in the man's demeanor told her this wasn't a threat. He wasn't here to intimidate her. He looked almost worried. Is Dae-Hyun okay? She asked cautiously. The man exhaled. He's fine for now. For now. She grabbed her bag. When they stepped outside, a sleek dark sedan waited by the curb. She slid into the back seat, gripping her bag strapped tightly. Where are we going? She whispered. To the boss's residence. She swallowed hard. Dae-Hyun had never mentioned where he lived. She'd never asked. Some clients liked privacy. But this felt different. Dangerous. The car drove out of her neighborhood, passing empty streets until the city lights faded behind them. They reached a gated estate perched on a cliff overlooking the ocean. It was massive, stone walls, towering pines, warm glowing lanterns lining the driveway. Not a house. A fortress. The gate opened without a word. Security cameras blinked silently. Aria tried to breathe normally, but her palms were sweating. The car stopped at the entrance. A second later, the front doors opened. And Dae-Hyun stepped out. But this was not the controlled, cold man she'd met before. His hair was disheveled. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, tie discarded. He looked like he'd been packing for hours. His eyes met hers with something she had never seen in them. Fear. Aria, he said quietly, come inside. She stepped out of the car shakily. What's going on? Why did you send your men to my house? He didn't answer until they were inside the grand foyer, marble floors, wooden beams, a massive chandelier glowing above them. She barely had time to take it in. He turned to her suddenly. They followed you. Her breath caught. What's who? The Hand Syndicate. She stared stunned. He continued, voice low and controlled. My men saw 2 of their cars circling your block tonight. I don't know how they made the connection, but they know your name. She felt her legs weaken. Why? I'm just the wedding planner. You're seen with me, he snapped. At my properties with my men, that makes you a target. A sharp sting of fear pierced her chest. So what do they want from me? They don't want you. His voice was harsh, pained. They want to get to me. She stepped back instinctively. I told you I shouldn't be part of this. I know, he said quietly. I told you this was dangerous. I know. And yet. His voice broke slightly. I'm doing everything I can to keep you safe. She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw something deeper beneath the anger and control. Guilt. Fear. Responsibility. She softened a little. Then tell me what that note said today. He froze. He hadn't expected her to bring it up. After several long seconds, he walked past her into a study lined with shelves and dark wood. She followed him, heart thudding. He pulled the folded paper from his jacket pocket and placed it on the desk. Aria stared at it but didn't touch it. Dae-Hyun's voice was low. My father made a lot of enemies before he died. He tried to secure alliances through arranged marriages. This wedding was meant to stabilize everything he built. She swallowed, and the note. It said, he hesitated. It said the bride's family is reconsidering. Why? Because they think I've become a liability. Because of the Han syndicate. No, he said softly, because of you. Her breath hitched painfully. Me. They think you're a distraction. Aria's stomach dropped. I barely know you. They don't care. His voice tightened. All they see is that I canceled meetings, asked for changes, spent more time with you than any of my official advisors. Aria stared at him, stunned. I didn't know that, she whispered. I didn't want you to know. Dae-Hyun, she murmured, you should have pushed me away. He gave a small, humorless laugh. I tried. Something in the room shifted, like the air grew heavier, warmer, more fragile. Aria looked down, trying to process everything. So your arranged bride's family thinks you're in love with me. The words slipped out before she could catch them. His eyes snapped to hers, sharp, intense, unreadable. I didn't say that, he murmured. But that's what they think. Silence. Aria's heart raced. Is it true? The atmosphere crackled, electric, dangerous, full of something forbidden. He took a step closer. Aria. But before he could finish, the study door burst open. One of his men rushed in, breathless. Boss, you need to see this. Dae-Hyun's entire body tensed. What now? The man handed him a phone. A video played. Aria watched over his shoulder, and her blood froze. A dark sedan sat outside her apartment complex. Two men got out, both wearing gloves, scanning the building. One of them lifted a phone, showing a picture of Aria. Her picture. Her heart slammed into her ribs. No, she whispered. They came looking for me. Dae-Hyun's jaw clenched so hard she thought he'd break teeth. Get her things, he said to his men. Everything, she won't go back there. Aria backed a step. Hold on, that's my home. Not anymore, he said, voice like steel. It's compromised. I have rights, Dae-Hyun. You have enemies now, he cut sharply, and you don't even understand how dangerous they are. She felt tears burning behind her eyes. I didn't ask for this, she whispered. I know, his voice softened instantly. I know, Aria. His hands hovered near her arms, as if he wanted to touch her but didn't dare. I'm sorry, he said, for dragging you into this. You didn't drag me in, she said bitterly. I walked in because I thought this was just a wedding. His eyes closed for a moment, pain passing across his face. Then he opened them, gaze fierce and determined. You're staying here, he said, where I can protect you. I'm not moving into your house like some hostage. You're not a hostage. Then what am I? His voice dropped to something low and unbearably honest. Someone I can't lose. Her breath caught. She couldn't respond, couldn't think, couldn't breathe. Then another sound shattered the moment. A loud crash from outside, followed by shouting. Dae-Hyun's men moved instantly. Dae-Hyun stepped in front of her again, instinctive, protective, dangerous. "Stay behind me," he ordered. Aria's heart pounded as chaos erupted outside the study doors. Because someone, or something, had just breached the estate. And they came for one reason: to get to him, or to get to her. Aria pressed herself against the wall as voices erupted in the hallway, sharp commands, the sound of boots pounding against marble, something metallic clattering to the floor. Dae-Hyun didn't move from in front of her. His body was a barrier, broad, steady, silent. "Is it the Han Syndicate?" she whispered, barely breathing. "Yes," he said, voice low. "They wouldn't attack my home unless they were desperate." A crash sounded closer, bookshelves falling, glass shattering. Aria flinched. Dae-Hyun reached back blindly and his hand brushed her wrist, steadying her. "You're safe," he murmured. "I won't let anything happen to you." The strange part was, she believed him. Even with fear crawling up her spine, even with her pulse pounding so hard she felt dizzy, something about him made her feel anchored. The study door slammed open. Aria gasped. But it wasn't the enemy, it was one of Dae-Hyun's men. "Boss, we've secured the East Wing. They breached level 1 but didn't get far." "How many?" Dae-Hyun asked. "4. Alive." "2. Dae-Hyun nodded once. A silent, terrifying command understood instantly. Aria's stomach twisted. The man continued. "There's something else. They left a message." Dae-Hyun's jaw clenched. "Where?" The guard pointed down the hallway. He turned to Aria. "Stay with him," he told the guard. Aria grabbed his sleeve. "Wait, don't go alone." He looked down at her hand, small, trembling, clutching his arm. For a heartbeat, he didn't breathe. Then he said something so soft, she almost missed it. "I won't be far." He gently removed her hand from his sleeve and stepped out of the study, disappearing down the corridor. The guard shut the door behind him, locking it. Aria tried to breathe, but the air felt thick, heavy. Every thought in her mind screamed that she shouldn't be here, that she shouldn't feel the way she did around a man whose world worked like this. But she couldn't ignore the panic rising inside her. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the door opened again. Dae-Hyun returned, but something about him looked different, colder, more dangerous. He held a small piece of paper. Aria's heart dropped. Another note. He nodded. She walked closer, stopping when she was inches away. "What does it say?" He looked at her, eyes dark and unreadable. "We take what you protect." Aria's stomach twisted painfully. "That's a threat." "It's a warning," he corrected quietly. "A warning that they're done playing games." Her voice wavered. "About me?" "Yes." She shook her head, stepping back. "I'm not part of any of this. I'm not a weapon. I'm not leverage." His voice hardened. "To them, you are." "And what about to you?" she whispered. His breath caught, but he didn't answer. He couldn't answer. She turned away, packing the room, hands trembling. "This is insane. I should just walk out of here and—" "You're not leaving," he said sharply. "I can't stay here, Dae-Hyun." "You don't have a choice." She froze. He winced at his own tone, running a hand through his hair. "I don't mean it like that. You're not a prisoner, You just want to keep control," she snapped. "No," he said, softer. "I want to keep you alive." Their eyes locked. Every word, every unspoken thing between them seemed to pulse in the quiet. Finally, he broke the tension by turning away. "Follow me." She hesitated. "Where?" "To somewhere safer." The estate had multiple levels. He led her down a stairwell that opened into a private lower wing, a beautifully designed hideaway with muted lighting, warm colors, and a single wall of glass facing the ocean. Waves crashed beyond the cliffs like the sea itself was holding its breath. "This whole time," Aria said, voice trembling, "you knew this could happen." He didn't turn. I've lived with danger every day of my life, he said softly. I know how to navigate it, you don't. She swallowed. I shouldn't be in your world. No, he agreed. You shouldn't. But I am. He finally faced her. The look in his eyes was raw, painful, conflicted. Yes, he whispered, you are. The air thickened between them, emotion, fear, magnetic pull, but neither moved closer. She won't marry you, Aria whispered suddenly. He blinked. Who? Your bride, the arranged bride. Her family is backing out, aren't they? His eyes darkened. Yes. Because of me. His jaw tensed. Because of everything. But I'm part of the reason, she said, voice cracking. He didn't deny it. She wrapped her arms around herself. Then what happens now? There was a long pause. Then he stepped closer, not too close, but close enough that she felt heat radiating from him. There's something you need to know, he said quietly, before anything else happens. Aria's pulse quickened. What? He exhaled slowly, almost painfully. 3 years ago, I was in a car crash on Highway 16. Her heart stopped. The car flipped down an embankment, he continued. I should have died that night, but someone pulled me out, someone who shouldn't have been there, someone who risked their life when everyone else drove past. Aria felt her legs weaken. It was dark, he murmured. I never saw her face, but I remembered her voice, her hands, the way she shook while trying to free me. Her throat tightened. Dae-Hyun. He took another step closer. The moment you spoke in my office, he said, voice low and trembling with something deep. I knew. Her chest ached. Knew what? You were the one who saved me. Her eyes burned instantly. No, she whispered. Dae-Hyun, there's no way. His voice broke. I looked for you, for years, but all I had was a memory. Then you walked into my office like fate spit you back into my life. Her breath hitched. Tears blurred her vision. I didn't know who you were, he said. Not until I heard your voice again, you saved my life. And now. He swallowed. Now they want to use you as bait. Aria's chest tightened painfully. Why didn't you tell me? She whispered. Because, he said, stepping even closer. I knew if I told you, I wouldn't let you walk away again. Her heart stuttered violently. For a moment, just a moment, everything else faded. The danger, the enemies, the trap. All she saw was the man standing in front of her, broken and fierce, and honest in a way she'd never thought possible. But before she could speak, before she could process any of it, a loud banging shook the floor. Dae-Hyun's head snapped toward the hallway. What was that? Aria breathed. Backup arriving, he said tightly. My mother, my uncles, the Park family. Aria froze. The bride's family, she whispered. Yes. But why would they come here? His eyes hardened. Because they think I jeopardized the alliance. And did you? She asked softly. He turned back to her slowly. His answer was devastating. I don't care about the alliance anymore. Before she could fully absorb the meaning, 3 sharp knocks struck the heavy door of the lower wing. Dae-Hyun, a stern woman's voice called. Open the door now. Aria's pulse skyrocketed. Is that your mother? She whispered. His expression tightened. Yes. And she sounds furious. She is. The pounding grew louder, sharper. Dae-Hyun exhaled hard, then looked at Aria, really looked. You don't speak, he said firmly. You don't explain anything. You don't stand near the door. Stand behind me and don't move. She opened her mouth. Why? Because they're not here to protect you, he said quietly. They're here to judge you. Another bang crashed through the hallway. And they're not going to like what they find. The last knock wasn't a knock at all. It was the door beginning to open. Aria sucked in a breath. Because the Kang family and the Park family were about to walk in. And everything was about to shatter. The door swung open with a force that made Aria flinch. A woman stepped inside first, tall, elegant, wrapped in a deep navy hanbok lined with silver embroidery. Her posture was rigid, chin lifted, eyes sharp enough to slice glass. Dae-Hyun's mother. 2 older men followed, his uncles, judging by the resemblance, and then a younger woman in pale pink silk entered behind them. Aria's stomach twisted. That had to be Myra Park, the arranged bride. Her face was unreadable, calm, controlled, like she was walking into a negotiation, not a private confrontation. All of them stopped short when they saw Aria. Their eyes widened, then narrowed. Dae-Hyun stepped slightly in front of her, subtle, but enough to make his meaning clear. His mother spoke first. "What is she doing here?" Her voice was low, furious, and cold. Aria swallowed. Her heart thudded so loudly she worried they'd hear it. "She is under my protection," Dae-Hyun answered. "That is not an answer," his mother snapped. "She should not be anywhere near this house." "And yet she is," he said, voice dangerously calm. Myra Park's eyes flicked to Aria, studying her in a way that felt far too knowing. Then she turned to Dae-Hyun. "So the rumors were true." He stiffened. "Which rumors?" "That you canceled our meeting because you were involved with someone else." Aria's breath hitched. Dae-Hyun's mother cut in before he could respond. "Your behavior has jeopardized years of planning, years of alliances, years of protection." Dae-Hyun didn't flinch. "The alliance is flawed, forced, unstable." "You are unstable," his uncle spat. "You let emotions cloud your judgment." "And you," Dae-Hyun replied sharply, "want me to be just like my father." Silence dropped like a hammer. Aria watched the room shift, tension building, old wounds reopening, family pride colliding with duty. Myra Park surprised everyone when she spoke softly. "I saw the video," she said, "of the men circling her apartment." Aria flinched. Myra continued. "They weren't watching you, Dae-Hyun. They were watching her. That means the alliance is already broken. My family won't let me marry into a war." Dae-Hyun's voice softened slightly. "It was never your burden." Myra's gaze flicked between him and Aria. "Do you love her?" Aria's heart stopped. Dae-Hyun didn't look away from Myra. "This is not your concern." "It is," Myra said, "because for the first time I understand something." Her eyes warmed slightly, not with affection but with empathy. "You were never meant to marry me," she said gently, "even before I knew her name." Aria blinked rapidly, trying to hold herself together. Dae-Hyun's mother scoffed. "You're letting a stranger destroy our family's legacy." Aria stepped back instinctively, but Dae-Hyun reached behind him, catching her hand for a second, not tight, not possessive, just grounding. His mother noticed. Her expression shattered into outrage. "You touched her, in my presence." Aria's pulse spiked. She tried to pull away, but Dae-Hyun didn't let her, not until he'd said what needed to be said. "This isn't about legacy anymore," he said quietly. "This is about survival." "And whose survival?" his mother demanded. "Yours, hers, certainly not ours." "You don't understand," he began. "No," she cut sharply, eyes burning. "You don't understand. You are letting the hand syndicate manipulate you. They use your weakness, your little attachment to corner you." Aria flinched as if slapped. Little attachment. It hurt more than she expected. But Dae-Hyun's grip tightened. "She is not a weakness," he said through clenched teeth. "She is the reason I—" He cut himself off. Everyone stared. Myra Park stepped forward slowly. "Dae-Hyun, what happened to you in that car crash?" His mother stiffened. "That is not relevant." "It is," Myra insisted. Because Aria suddenly realized. His mother already knew. Everyone else seemed confused. Dae-Hyun went still, then he spoke. "I was pulled from the wreck by someone I never saw again. Someone who shouldn't have been on that road. Someone who saved my life when no one else stopped." Myra glanced at Aria, eyes widening slightly. His mother closed her eyes, pained, as if she had always feared this moment. Dae-Hyun continued. "I searched for her for years, but fate brought her back to me." Aria's breath shook violently. His uncle scoffed. And you think this is fate? You think the universe gives a damn about our world? Dae-Hyun didn't raise his voice. I don't know what this is, but I know she didn't choose this chaos. I dragged her into it, and I won't let anyone touch her. The room snapped with energy, emotion, danger. His mother stepped closer, eyes blazing. You are willing to lose everything for her. Yes, he said without hesitation. Aria felt the air leave her lungs. Myra Park drew in a breath. Then our families are done. I will not marry a man whose heart is elsewhere. No one argued. It was over. Just like that. The alliance shattered. His mother looked betrayed, his uncles furious, Myra resigned. But Dae-Hyun looked relieved. Aria didn't. She felt guilty, terrified, overwhelmed. She whispered, "This is my fault." Dae-Hyun turned instantly. "No, this is on me." "You don't understand," Aria said, voice cracking. "My entire life fell apart once already. I can't be the reason another wedding collapses. I can't be the reason people get hurt. I can't." "Aria," he murmured, stepping close. "Stop. I don't belong in your world. I know. I'm not strong enough for this. I know. I don't know how to breathe around all this danger." He cupped her face gently, forehead nearly touching hers. "I know," he whispered, "and I still want you here." Her heart stuttered. Myra watched quietly, then she bowed slightly. "Goodbye, Dae-Hyun," she said, "and good luck." She left with her family. The door shut. The house fell silent. Aria's voice trembled. "What now?" Dae-Hyun exhaled slowly. "Now we end this." She stiffened. "End what?" "The war." The word chilled her. She backed up slightly. "Dae-Hyun, you can't." He stepped forward, eyes fierce. "I can, and I will, because as long as this continues, you will never be safe. I don't want you doing something reckless because of me." He shook his head. "This isn't because of you. This was coming for years. You just made me realize it's time to finish it." Before she could protest, one of his men appeared at the door. "Boss, Han Syndicate is requesting a meeting. Neutral ground." Dae-Hyun's expression hardened. "Of course they are." Aria grabbed his arm. "This is a trap." "Yes," he said, "but so is everything in this world." Her voice broke. "Please don't go alone." He looked at her for a long, devastating moment. Then he lifted her hand and pressed it to his chest. "Then come with me," he whispered. Her breath hitched. "Me." "You saved my life once," he murmured. "Maybe you'll save it again." She stared at him, terrified but unable to step back. "Okay," she whispered. They left the estate together. The meeting was tense, violent negotiation, threats, a near shootout, but Dae-Hyun didn't bend. He offered the Han Syndicate a deal that shocked everyone, a division of territories that ended decades of hostility, in exchange for complete removal of Aria from their target list. It worked. Barely. But it worked. Hours later, as dawn tinted the sky orange, they returned to the estate, exhausted, shaken, but alive. Dae-Hyun stopped outside the door, turned to her, and spoke the words that would change everything. "Aria Collins," he said softly, "marry me. Not for duty, not for legacy, not for fear, but because I choose you." Her eyes filled instantly. "Dae-Hyun." "You don't have to answer now," he whispered. "Just stay." She didn't need time. She didn't need air. She didn't need safety. She only needed truth. "I'm staying," she whispered. He pulled her into his arms. And for the first time since her world shattered 6 months ago, she felt whole again. Years passed. Aria and Dae-Hyun married in a small ceremony overlooking the ocean. No arranged guests, no political alliances, just family and a handful of trusted friends. Their home blended Korean tradition with modern warmth. Their children grew up between two cultures, two histories, two hearts healed by fate. And sometimes, late at night, when Aria looked at Dae-Hyun reading to their daughter or holding their newborn son, She remembered the rooftop where it all began, the moment she stepped into the life she never expected, the life that almost killed her, the life that saved her. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more captivating stories every week. Your support helps bring these tailies to life. Stay tuned for the next one.